Let's travel back to the 1700s in Jamaica, a time when the island was under British colonial rule. The lush landscapes and vibrant culture we know today were overshadowed by the harsh realities of colonial exploitation and slavery. It was a tough time for many, especially for the African slaves who were forced to work under brutal conditions. The sugar plantations were vast, and the labor was grueling. The British were in control, and they enforced their rule with an iron fist. The colonial soldiers ensured that the strict laws and harsh punishments were followed to maintain their dominance. Africans were taken from their homes, torn from their families, and brought to Jamaica on ships. The journey across the Atlantic was perilous, and many did not survive the trip. Those who did survive were forced to work on large farms known as plantations, where they cultivated sugarcane, a highly profitable crop for the British Empire. Life on the plantations was incredibly hard. The slaves worked long hours under the scorching sun with little rest and minimal food. They were treated as property, and their lives were filled with suffering and despair. But even in the darkest times, there's always a spark of hope. Despite the overwhelming oppression, the human spirit's resilience shone through. The Africans yearned for freedom. They dreamed of a life where they could live with dignity and without fear. Some of them took the courageous step to escape from the plantations. They fled into the rugged and remote mountains of Jamaica, seeking refuge from their oppressors. These brave escapees were known as the Maroons. The mountains became their sanctuary, a place where they could live freely and preserve their African heritage. Their story is a testament to the enduring quest for freedom and justice. A legend emerged among these Maroons, Nanny. She was not just a leader, but a symbol of resistance and hope. Her story is one of courage, resilience, and strategic brilliance. No one knows for sure where she came from. Her origins are shrouded in mystery, adding to her legendary status. Some believe she was born in the heart of Africa, while others think she was brought to Jamaica as a slave. Some say she was a princess from Africa, from a tribe called the Ashanti. The Ashanti were known for their strong warriors and rich culture. If Nanny was indeed from this tribe, it would explain her exceptional leadership and combat skills. Others say she was brought to Jamaica on a slave ship. The journey was brutal and many did not survive, but Nanny did, and she turned her suffering into strength, becoming a beacon of hope for her people. But everyone agrees she was a true warrior. Her bravery and tactical genius were unmatched. She led her people with a fierce determination to reclaim their freedom. Nanny was super smart and knew how to fight in the mountains. She used the terrain to her advantage, setting traps and ambushes that confounded her enemies. Her knowledge of the land was unparalleled. She knew every secret path and hiding spot. This intimate knowledge of the landscape allowed her to move her people swiftly and safely, evading capture and launching surprise attacks. She taught the Maroons how to fight using the land to their advantage. Her training turned them into a formidable force, capable of outsmarting and outmaneuvering their oppressors. They would attack quickly and then disappear into the forest. This guerrilla warfare tactic made them nearly impossible to defeat, and Nanny's leadership was the cornerstone of their success. The Maroons became a real problem for the British. These resilient and determined fighters who had escaped from slavery were not just a nuisance, but a formidable force. They knew the land intimately and used guerrilla tactics to outsmart the British soldiers. They would attack the plantations, setting them ablaze and freeing the enslaved people who toiled there. These raids were not just acts of rebellion, but strategic moves to weaken the British hold on the island. The Maroons would help other slaves escape, guiding them through the dense forests to freedom. They created a network of safe havens and secret paths, making it nearly impossible for the British to recapture the escaped slaves. The British were scared of Nanny. She was not just a leader, but a symbol of resistance. Her knowledge of the terrain and her tactical genius made her a formidable opponent. They called her a witch because she was so clever and powerful. The British couldn't understand how she managed to evade capture and lead successful attacks, so they attributed her skills to supernatural powers. But Nanny wasn't a witch, she was a brilliant leader. Her strategic mind and unwavering determination inspired her people to fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. The First Maroon War went on for years. It was a grueling conflict, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The Maroons, though outnumbered and outgunned, used their knowledge of the land to their advantage. Nanny led with bravery, but the British were too strong. Despite their best efforts, the Maroons couldn't hold out forever against the well-equipped British forces. They offered the Maroons a deal to stop fighting. The British, weary of the prolonged conflict, proposed a peace treaty that would grant the Maroons some autonomy in exchange for their cessation of hostilities. Some Maroons agreed, but Nanny refused. She believed that true freedom could not be negotiated and that the fight must continue until all were free. She knew the fight for freedom wasn't over. Nanny's legacy lived on, inspiring future generations to continue the struggle for justice and equality in the hills of Jamaica. Nanny died a warrior, some say while fighting, but her spirit, her memory, continued to inspire people. She became a symbol of resistance, a light of hope for those who were treated unfairly. Her story was passed down from generation to generation. In 1977, Jamaica made Nanny a national hero. Her face is on the Jamaican $500 bill. Schools, roads, even a whole town are named after her. Her legacy is one of courage and fighting for what's right. Nanny's story reminds us that even the smallest act of bravery can start a revolution. It shows us that even when things seem impossible, freedom is always worth fighting for. Nanny's story shows the strength of the human spirit. Nanny of the Maroons is more than just a person from history. She is a symbol of resistance, reminding us to always fight for justice. Like and subscribe. Thank you for your support.